Greetings everyone, and thank you all for joining me again on our 5th episode of our show, Let's Get High on Myth. This episode is titled Blood of Zeus. This is actually the part 2 of our episode 4. As always, we're going to continue talking about the second generation of the Olympians. We are going to talk about their birth myths and their characteristics. Last episode we talked about Athena, Ares, and Apollo and Artemis. We talked about this 4. We have 3 left, so let's get started. We are going to start with Hermes. So Hermes is the god of travel, diplomacy, trade. He was really smart and a trickster, really deceptive as well. He was also known as the messenger of gods. He is the son of Zeus and Maya, which was a nymph and was actually the daughter of Atlas, which made Hermes the grandson of Atlas. He was born in mountain in Arcady, and he was really a trickster. Since his birth, as soon as he was born, like after that, he stole some of Apollo's cattle, and he actually made the cattle wear shoes so to hide their traces and they couldn't be tracked. So he moved them to where he was in Mount Arcady, and he actually took 2 of them and slaughtered them to eat their juicy meat, and from the rest of them, the bones and etc., he made a lyre, the U-shaped instrument with strings in it. So Apollo now finds out that some of his cattle is missing, and he goes searching for it. He asks the locals, and they tell him to search for a child, because they seen a little child walking with the cattle around. He goes and finds Hermes, but he is instantly drawn to the instrument created by Hermes, the lyre. So Apollo will say to him, I'm okay with trading some of my cattle that you already took in exchange of the lyre. So Hermes accepts, and Apollo takes the lyre. Now, after a while, not so long after, Hermes actually created another instrument, which was the pipe. And again, Apollo is interested in this instrument, and he wants one. So he goes to Hermes, I will give you my golden staff, a wand, if you give me the pipe. But Apollo is smart, and he actually tells him, it's not only that, but I want another favor from you. I want you to teach me prophecy. I wanted to take a lesson from you in prophecy. So Apollo accepts because he's desperate, and he actually really wants this instrument, the pipe. So Apollo teaches Hermes about the prophecies and gives him his golden wand, and in exchange he takes the pipe. So now Zeus is drawn to this kid. He's really smart, he can persuade people, he's really intelligent. So he assigned him as his messenger, his personal servant. He ended up doing a lot of good deeds for Zeus and the other gods, and even demigods. And one of the occasions is when Zeus was having an affair with Io. So Hera one day comes down to earth to see her husband, and he was actually with Io. So he actually shape-shifted her, changed her into a cow, he disguised her as a cow in fear of his wife. So Hera is not dumb, so she suspected something is wrong with Zeus. She asked him to give the cow to her as a present. He couldn't deny or tell her no, because he would confirm her suspicions. So Hera appointed Argus, her personal servant, which was a giant with a lot of eyes, 100 eyes or something, to guard the cow and not let Zeus or anyone else get near her. So Zeus goes for Hermes for help to rescue Io. Hermes goes and uses his pipe to sing for the Argus, and when Argus is asleep, he slaughters him and kills him. So now Io is free, but the poor thing is stuck being a cow. In art, he's mostly depicted as a handsome young man with sandals with wings and even a helmet with wings. Now moving on to our second god, Dionysus, known for the Roman as Bacchus, or the Wanderer. So he's the god of wine, festivals, and pleasure, and everything fun. He's actually one of the few gods who traveled a lot. He even reached Southeast Asia. He traveled around the world, throwing parties and festivals, and teaching people how to make wine. He's actually was really loved in ancient Greek. There's a lot of festivals in his honor. He was called the Wanderer because he traveled a lot. So Dionysus was depicted in art as a young man with holding a staff or a wand with ivy in it and a pipe and a pine at the top of it. This was known as Thersosis. His sacred animals were leopards and panthers. So Dionysus actually was the only full god born from a female mother, a female mortal mother. And that's because of the unique way of his birth. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and Semele. And when Hera found out about the cheating of her husband, quick note, Hera always found out when Zeus cheats. So she goes to Semele, disguised herself as an old mortal woman. And Semele is nice to her and talking about her and tell her about the child she's carrying and how she's carrying the child of the king of gods, Zeus. So Hera, disguised as the old woman, tried to deceive Semele, telling her it couldn't be Zeus, it must be some mortal man deceiving you, and you're just a fool to believe him. And if you really want to prove him that he's really, to make sure he's really Zeus, tell him to prove it to you. So when Zeus came back to Semele, she asked him to promise her that he would give her whatever she asks for. So he granted her that, promising that whatever she asks for, she will get. So she asked him to show his true self, his true shape. A quick note, in Greek mythology it was told that you cannot see a god in his true form. And that's why most of the time, or all the time, the gods depicted themselves or changed their shape into mortals, so the humans won't die the moment they see them. So she asks him to show his true identity, but Zeus knows that it will lead to her death. But she insists saying that he promised. He had no choice but to show his true identity, and Semele died at the spot. He tried to save his child, unborn child Dionysus, so he attached him to his thigh to continue his growing. This is actually why they explain why Dionysus had a mortal mother and a godfather, but he ended up being a god and not a demigod like the others, like Hercules and the others. But even after his birth and his mother's death, Hera won't let the child Dionysus alone. She continued to harass him and chase him, and he ended up traveling from place to place, running away from her, raised by different people. He was even told at some point he was raised by Persephone in the underworld. He was indeed the god of fun and pleasure and everything exciting, but he didn't take disrespect easily. In one of his myths, when the king of Thebes, Pythias, made fun of him and actually disrespected him, saying that he is not worthy of their respect or worshipping. So Dionysus planted his revenge, and he actually casted a spell on the women of the kingdom, making them go crazy and hysteric. So the women left the kingdom and they went to live on their own in a mountain far away. When the king found out about this, he actually imprisoned Dionysus. But Dionysus disguised himself as a woman and lured the king to the mountain. And when the other women saw him spying on them, they tore him to pieces and came back holding him. It wasn't until later that they found out they actually killed their king. In another story, when he actually went with the other people on shift, promising him to get him to his destination, only to change the destination last minute and take him to Asia in order to sell him. That's why they put him on the ship to take him with him, only to hear a screaming sound and leaves of ivy and leopards and lions jump on them, and actually the pirates jumped off the ship to run away from the animals that attacked them, and they ended up transforming into dolphins. And we have arrived to our final god, Hephaestus. So Hephaestus was really a crafty god. He was responsible for making a lot of weapons for a lot of gods, like for example Athena, a lot of demigods like Hercules. He was also known as the god of fire and forging weapons. But he was the son also of Zeus and Hera, so in other tales he was the son of Hera on her own. He was not loved by his parents, and actually as the moment he was born, he was thrown away in the sea and abandoned. So he ended up raised by different people and really wanted revenge for being thrown away like that. So when he learned his forging, when he learned the way to forge weapons and things, he actually created a chair for his mother and gifted to her and sent it to Mount Olympus as a gift for her. When Hera sat down on that chair, she couldn't get up again. The chair trapped her. She was chained to that chair. So the Greek gods tried to save her, but nothing could help them. Only Hephaestus could help her in that situation. So Zeus sent for Hermes, saying that actually Zeus asked for Dionysus for help, because Dionysus had a good relationship with Hephaestus. Hephaestus agreed to free Hera on one condition, that he will be back to Mount Olympus to live with them, and they should like treat him well after he's been treated like a motherless child, and also he asked to be married to Aphrodite. So Zeus had no choice but to accept his conditions. The thing is, Aphrodite didn't really want to marry Hephaestus because she already had an eye on Ares, and they had an affair. So when Hephaestus found out about the affair of his wife Aphrodite with the help of Helios, the god of sun, the Greek gods banished or throw Ares away from Mount Olympus. In Greek mythology, he's depicted as sometimes an old man sitting hidden, holding a tongs and his craftsmanship tools. Thank you all for watching this episode. This was our 5th episode. We were talked about the 2nd generation of the Olympians. We talked about Athena, Ares, Apollo, Artemis, Hephaestus, Dionysius, and also Hermes. I want to know, who do you think represents you most between the Greek gods? Who were you attracted most and felt like this could, like, you are similar in some way? Who's your favorite one? Comment below so I can read your answers. Thank you all for watching or listening. Don't forget to follow us on our social media, and see you next time, everyone.